Politics. I'm your host, Darlene Price, and tonight we want to welcome our special guest here. We got Smitty, our animal control guy. What's your role? Everybody calls you Smitty. What's your real name?
My nickname is Smitty, Smitty. My full name is Gregory Ray Smith.
That's right, Gregory Smith. I'm sorry. I'm so used to calling you Smitty.
Everybody does.
Anyways, before we get started, we want to thank everybody that makes Truth or Politics happen. We want to thank MBR TV, Steve Hall, one of the owners over there. You guys rock. You keep us on the air no matter what. No matter the threat or intimidation, we stay on the air. And folks behind the scene, Michael and everybody else behind the scene that make Truth or Politics happen. Thank you. And of course, our listeners and watchers all around Pulaski County. We got people from California, everybody tunes in. Thank you for tuning in and keeping us on the air for coming up on 15 years. 15 years this December, Truth or Politics has been on the air. And yes, I feel old. Anyway, so let's get started. Tonight, we're going to talk about our animal control problems, issues, and of course, bears. But we're going to start out with, first off, what is your job? Because there's a lot of confusion and people get mad because they think that your job is this and these people think that this job is this. What are the perimeters and limitations of your job? Just to clarify, because I think, some people get mad and they just don't understand what your job is.
I deal with that quite often. What I advise everybody to do, try to help everybody kind of understand where things at. You can go on the McCreary County website and look up the revised county ordinance 840.3, or you can go to Kentucky Revised Statutes in the 258 section. That's 258.015.011. All these things, and in that section, it gives you a description of my job. Now, the problem is that some people think that my job entails everything on the list. Each of those job descriptions and things that are there are designed so that each community, whether it be this county or another county, can develop their own animal control system based on what the county and the community needs. Okay, I'm not
and what the county can afford.
What the counties can afford. We have a very limited budget. Sorry, folks, it's just the way it is. Times are tight for everybody. I'm not an animal rescue. That's the first thing we want to kind of get out there and put in the air for everybody to understand. We're not a rescue. A rescue has an on-call veterinarian. They have a special facility just for medical emergencies, animals and such. We have a shelter. And the difference is the shelter will take in strays or any problem dogs, things of that nature that we determine to be a problem. They are not a rescue. They do not have that capability. The average veterinarian introductory cost just to bring one in the door down there is like $250. Okay? So we're not a rescue, folks. I appreciate all the help from our community and all the notifications of where everything is. And if there's space available and we have an ability to help something, we will absolutely try to do so. But I have a limitation to what we are and what we can do. And that's funding based. To give you an idea, someone said something the other day. I've had a couple of really actually rude comments made, and I want to kind of address this real quick. Someone popped off about the budgets of the kennel, and they're getting all this stuff and all this money. What we want to understand is the kennel is a shelter. They work diligently to move dogs to other shelters. Everybody complained and said they want a no-kill shelter. Well, now you have it. But along with that comes a side anchor that a lot of people don't think about. If we don't put dogs down that are too mean to take out, too sick, too this, too that, we don't develop space. Our kennels currently has a 38-bed population, period. 38 dogs. We have a very small kennels. And they're working every day to try to adopt dogs, remove dogs through different programs and things. But with the no-kill shelter, we have now doubled the dogs that are there.
Here's something else I want to throw in there, too. There's a built-in legality problem with that puts the county at risk, too. Nobody's a bigger dog lover than me, okay? Unfortunately, you have irresponsible people in this county who purposefully raise dangerous dogs, okay? And then they let them run loose, okay? Then he's called out because the dog has bit something or, it is a danger to the public. And, he takes the dog to the shelter to protect, humans and other dogs, okay?
Yes. my primary goal is to protect my community's people.
Right.
And then the animals come in second. And what I always get is everybody's like, well, he just says shoot him. I'm going to use a term that everybody loves to use when they're speaking about me. In actuality, if you hear my speech at any time, there are 5 other options, and euthanization is the absolute last. Second to last is this device here. This is called a catch post, and I really don't like using it because it is very stressful to an animal, and it causes a lot of stress and delay on them recovering from shock or so forth, so on. But at times, this is the only way that I can safely move the animal and with my safety and his safety into the same place. So, folks, again, my goal is to protect my community, number one, and then their farms, their livestock, and their personal belongings, things in second. Okay, lethal force is the absolute last thing. Do I tell people they have the right to euthanize dogs on their property? Yes, I do. After 5 other options. Okay, and I am limited by the dogs that I can take to shelter because it doesn't matter what the funding is. 38 beds is 38 beds, and I'm required by the state Veterinarian Association to conduct inspections, things out there. If I go out there and they're over or they're having bigger issues, then I could be charged with shutting the facility down altogether.
And here's another thing too. When these irresponsible pet owners, and let's put the blame where it belongs. It's on the irresponsible pet owners.
Absolutely.
When he is in a position where he has to get one of these dangerous dogs, then take it to the shelter. Okay, the shelter then is in a liability situation. If they allow that dog to go to a family, to go to another rescue, to go somewhere, and it harms a kid or something, the county's liable for that. So, that puts the shelter, puts him, puts the county in a huge liability, and the real person who's responsible is the irresponsible pet owner, okay? And that's the position that this shelter is in all the time. The folks at the shelter, they have big hearts, they want to save everything. The problem is you can't save everything. I've trained dogs for years. I'm telling you, there are times when even Caesar Milan, you ever watch Caesar Milan, they think, oh, every dog can be saved. Okay, well, no. There's a reason he goes to a house, if you watch TV, and he takes the dog out of the situation and then gives them another dog, okay? Because he knows in his mind, I may be able to handle this dog, but this dog can't go anywhere else.
Correct.
Okay? That's Caesar Milan. This is McCreary County Animal Shelter. The folks down there have big hearts, but, they're not Caesar Milan. They don't have the ability, time, and effort and money to retrain and reprogram a dog like that. It takes years sometimes. And if they did, do you trust that dog? You can't take a dog that you can't trust and then give it to a rescue, put it in a family, and rehome it.
It makes a liability for everybody involved.
It does. And I know people get mad because, well, what are you going to do? Well, you know what? In that case, once you've tried everything, the 5 things, once the shelter's tried, and they cannot replace this dog, they can't put kids in danger. You can't take a risk that this 100-pound pit bull, and I don't mean pick on pit bulls, okay, or whatever, German Shepherd, whatever, I have a German Shepherd, a large, guardian type dog. You can't take a risk that this dog, it's going to end up in some kid's home. Because even if you give it to a rescue, it may act okay for a while, but if the rescue doesn't know its history and they end up rehoming that dog and some kid gets mauled, guess who's responsible? He's responsible.
It comes right back to the people.
County's responsible.
Back to the public.
Okay, so please understand. Believe me, I wish every dog could be rescued, but some can't. That you just can't do it. You can't rescue and replace and rehome every dog. You can't do it. Not with the limited funds, not with the limited training, not with the limited shelter that we have here. And, and when people get angry about that, you need to get angry at the irresponsible jerk, and I wish I could cuss on TV, but I can't. Thank you, Steve Hall. He's going, thank God you're not going to cuss. Pet owners who do this. It's their responsibility. And, you know, to me, there's not enough fines, jail time, or whatever for somebody who takes a dog that's, you know, and any dog starts out as a good dog, you know. And I know pit bulls get a bad rap. They do. So does German shepherds, okay? You know, you have to be a certain kind of pet owner. You have to be there's a difference between a dog lover and a dog owner and a dog handler.
Absolutely.
If you cannot be a handler, physically, you're not able. Physically, you're not able to run that dog and exercise it. Physically, you don't know how to train them. You don't know how to handle a dog. Do not get a guardian type dog, okay? Just don't. You're dooming that dog, and it's your fault. It's not the dog's fault. A German Shepherd, a Pit Bull, any of these guardian type dogs, in the right hands, they could be perfect dogs, okay? But if you are not the right hands, you know, don't get a dog like that. You know, get a little frisky muffin dog.
even with that, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to interject to here that, folks, if you have a very tight budget for your family already,
Yeah.
okay, I know that we all want to take the little dog in that walks into our yard. I don't care if it's a Chihuahua or a Great Dane, a Pyrenees, whatever. Everybody likes to try to save and take care of an animal. Totally support that. However, if your budget is restricted to the point where you cannot provide proper medical care for that animal, you can't provide proper food for that animal, or proper shelter, then you might want to consider turning it in or having it removed from your property. If you feed it in the state of Kentucky and you feed it and shelter it, it's called harboring an animal. It's covered under KRS 258. And you are now the owner and responsible party for that dog, including all damages that dog may do. Okay, same for landlords. I'm trying to cover everything today to make sure we understand this. Landlords, okay, property owners and landlords. If you have dogs on your property through your tenants, ultimately, it can be brought down through the courts that you are responsible for those dogs because you are indeed harboring an animal by allowing it to be in your apartments and on your property. Even if it belongs to the person that's renting from you, you ultimately are responsible for your property and the animals thereon. Also, talking about funding. Last year,
I was even ready to ask that question. There you go.
Last year, I got permission from the Animal Protection League to kind of give you an idea. Last year's totaling run was $146,365.16. This is an average cost to run that shelter. So a lot of people have made some really rude comments about, well, you're giving this much or that much. They currently have no other income other than the county contract we have and one or two food donations occasionally. Okay, everything else is done through a nonprofit process that they use there. Folks don't understand the differences. If you leave an animal outside that facility, folks, they have cameras everywhere. It is clearly marked that it's a felony to leave an animal, just drop it off, throw it out there, because you don't know what's going to happen to the animal in the process. It has no food, water, or shelter. So this is a felony, folks. It's a crime. If I get your information, I will write you a citation and have a warrant issued for your arrest, because we can't have that happening at the kennels when they have no place to put animals. Everybody's opinion, well, it's their job. Yeah, well, they have a job to take care of the county as best they can to their limits.
Right.
We have to stop at a certain point and stop blaming it. Like we said, your neighbors who are breeding dogs, it tells you clearly in KRS 258 and that other pages of it, that if you have a female dog come in heat, it is your responsibility to secure that female dog immediately, either in a trailer, like a horse trailer or such, or in a building or a structure where no male animal can get to it. It's your responsibility as the owner of these dogs. If your dog gets out and does damage, I don't care if you took your tea glass and set it down and he turned around and the dog was gone. If that dog does damage to cattle, home, property, scares the granny next door, you are liable 100% for that. If you don't put your dogs up and secure them properly with collars, chains, leads, underground fences and such.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park. You ought to see this lady's dog pens. I have been there, inspected them. Oh my gosh. She's got security for her dogs, and she has very large dogs, so it's great. But if you don't do that and something happens, you're liable, number one. Okay? The court process, the fees, the veterinary bills, medical bills, all are on you. If you allow your animal to breed irresponsibly, that's on you. You can't just bring the puppies up there and throw them down in front of the shelter and say, there you go. A current price for a turn-in dog, a surrender dog, is $60 per dog. Okay, folks? They have to have this money in order to bring that dog in, give him a series of shots, wormers, various other distemper shots, all kinds of things that they do for the animal before they put it back there in the back with the rest so that we don't contaminate them. All right, now these prices that we got here, okay, transport insurance, $5,604 a year. Okay, let's see, dog food.
This is what the counties have to pay to have an animal control.
The shelter and the county work together to cover some of this. Okay, $23,544 for dog food is bought in. Okay, that has to come from somewhere. They're not giving. Everybody has this claim to fame there of, well, they're giving dog food. No. Every now and then they'll get a pallet, maybe, that we've worked out a deal with either a local store or something that's got some bad bags, cut open bags, and we'll use that. Let's see, wormer, $1,500, bought 6 months out. That's it, 6 months, because it has a timeline on it. It's a failing product. Let's see, spay and neuters. Any dog that goes to the shelter and stays on a permanent basis gets spay or neutered. Okay, and that's $9,600 just there. Again, the total price is a floating price because things change with prices and time. $146,365, folks. This place is expensive to run. All right, and they're doing it out of the bed of their heart. I mean, they're really trying. I've heard a lot of bad mouth, a lot of talk. A lot of people don't come down here. They're invited. I myself held an open house, inviting everybody to come ask questions, see my equipment, learn my methods, talk to me. I had 2 people in my entire community show up. If you want to complain, folks, that's fine. You absolutely have the right to, but complain legitimately. When you're giving opportunities to tour the kennels, to see what I do, to come and learn, if you have a question, please feel free to walk up and ask me.
Also, hasn't there been opportunities for low-cost spay and neutering? I want you to talk about, how we have a serious dog and cat problem in this county. Irresponsible pet owners not spaying and neutering their animals. And then we offer low-cost or free spay and neutering. How many people show up?
That's another true issue. Just a few months ago, we offered a reduced price. I think it was like $20 or $30 per animal. We had a cat or dog at the Senior Citizen Center up here. Had about 12 people show up. And we had about 45 or so, maybe a few more slots available. We had veterinarians set up in there, volunteered their time. We set the whole place up for this. And it was in the paper, it was everywhere. And no one showed up. Folks, if you're not willing to put the time in, then there's nothing we can do for you. In the Bible section, everybody talks about their Bibles around here. Well, that's fine. Let's use a little bit of that. It says clearly in the Bible that if you don't put your time in, there's nothing that can be done for you. Okay? So you have to put your time in, folks. It's required. If you don't want to come and have the cheapest possible spay and neuter you can get, and you decide to sit at home, please don't be upset when I turn away your pups, I turn away all your kittens. We don't even deal with cats because we don't even have a facility. I priced a brand new facility for the county. The building by itself is $360,000.
It costs as much, probably, to run a big, animal shelter for a new facility and everything as it does a prison.
Absolutely. Because foods, meals, bedding, heating, cooling, all have to be considered.
Michael.
You mentioned if an animal gets out and causes damage, but even if they just get out, that's against the ordinance, isn't it? I mean, they're supposed to be kept up at all times, correct?
Correct. And all hours, all day, time of night, whatever it is, you're required to keep your animals secured on your property by whatever means that you can afford, be it chain or electric fence, collars and all that, that's great. If that animal gets away, you must be in pursuit of it. This is especially true for my hunters. A lot of my hunters like to go on these night hunts, let their dogs out, and the dogs take off on a deer or whatever they get on, and they disappear. 3 days later, 4 days later, I'm picking up an emaciated dog. He's bled about down because he's been cut up. He's out of water. He's dehydrated, no food, and he looks like death. But he's now tearing up the chicken coops around the houses in that area. And the hunter is not actively searching. Folks, as hunters, you should be aware that there are plenty, hundreds of new systems to track your dogs. And you need to put that tag in that collar and make sure that you track your dogs down immediately upon loss. You have 48 hours to bring those dogs in, after which they go to the kennels. When they go to the kennels, you will be charged your service charges, your entry fees, your holding, boarding fees, all will be charged to you. Responsibility, folks, is the word for the day.
Yeah.
And we must take responsibility for our animals. For those folks, now I want to address this because this is a legal issue. I want everybody to listen very closely. One, we don't no longer take any information unless it has an address and you're willing to give your information. There is no anonymous calls or stuff because we're getting sent on wild goose chases and crazy stuff. So if you ain't got the information or an address, and you must have an address and give your information, we're not going to respond.
Yeah, you can't use the animal control and the dog shelter as a tool because you're pissed off at your neighbor.
No.
Yeah, so you call the dog guy on your neighbor because you're mad at him.
Yeah, that's
not and the dog's not dangerous. It's not really doing anything, but you're just going to call and just I want to be anonymous, like a frivolous call, basically.
Now, what I run into, and I've had this said more than once, well, they told me they'll burn my house down if I tell on them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the straight definition of a terroristic threat.
Yeah.
You take their name, their information, you drive straight over here to this fine little county attorney's office we got. You walk in there and you tell them, hey, Mr. So-and-so said, or Miss So-and-so said, they're going to burn my house down if I tell animal control on them. Okay? That is a terroristic threat, folks. Yes, I'm aware we all have to live in these communities, but we do not have to live under the threat of harm or damage to our property. So, again, folks, I apologize to my community in advance, but I will no longer be taking any calls anywhere without proper information. These are legal calls and may end up in a court somewhere, and I have to have that information in my file.
And if in the event that they are confronting their neighbor or whatever, record it.
Everybody today wants to do the cell phone pose. Everybody wants to do this on all kinds of things except for those things that are important. If you see your neighbor coming across there and you know you've just had an altercation with him about a dog, start recording.
Yeah. You can record as long as it is illegal in the state of Kentucky to roll tape as long as you are a part of a conversation, you are a part of something. What you cannot do is go into a restaurant or something, leave a recorder, and then record somebody else's conversation or videotape something that you're not a part of. That's called wiretapping. That's a whole nother ball of wax. Okay, but as long as you are a part, it's on your property, you're a part of the conversation, you're a part of the thing. Roll tape. Perfectly legal.
Now, another thing I want to address right quick, because I know we've got to keep our time in mind. When I go out to these calls, I'm going to use a delivery driver the other day. I was on my day off. I get a call from dispatch. Says we've got a problem. Says I've got a delivery driver dropping off a package at a residence. He's lost cell phone. We've lost cell phone contact with him. And the last thing said he was under attack by a pit bull. And he was trying to get away and was trying to get up on the porch, but we can no longer reach him. I immediately jump in my vehicle, grab my little bit of gear, and I go to that residence. As I pull up, there is an absolutely terrified Amazon, I believe it was Amazon or FedEx driver. He's on the porch. His cell phone is laying on the sidewalk, along with this little electronic button that's supposed to run dogs off. It's all they issue them. They're not allowed anything else. I get out with this and my pistol in hand because the dog has lost its mind. It's now a threat to human life. Therefore, I have to take action immediately because this guy is bleeding all over. We take over the situation. I tell him to get to the vehicle. When I say go, he said, well, I've got to get those 2 items. I said, you better grab them quick. He leaps off the porch. When I say go, he runs, gets in his van. I tell him to meet me at the end. We have the ambulance come meet us at the end of the driveway. I spray the dog several times. I'm telling everybody, this is Guard Alaska. It's a standard bear spray. It's made to stop bears. It will stop any dog in its tracks. It is non-lethal, non-harming to the animal. The animal will wear it off in about 35 to 40 minutes, and it'll just rinse off. Now, if you go to rub on your dog after he's been sprayed, you're going to get a taste of this because it stays in there. It's oil-based. Rinse the dog off, let him wander around outside for a while, and it'll dissipate, and it's fine. Okay? This I recommend for anybody that's going to walk their dogs or be out in an open area. We do have bears in the area. We have bears right now at the time of year they're looking for food because they're in a transition period between
Perfect
crops.
segue.
Yeah, they're in a proper place to look for food because it's getting close to the fall of the year. Now our bears here don't necessarily super hibernate like everybody thinks. They roam throughout the entire season, but they do get hungry. They do get sleepy and grumpy, especially if a mama bear ends up pregnant and about to have young while she's sleeping. Okay, you got to be very careful. Stay away from the cubs because if there's cubs, mama's close by. She's just sitting up watching. Letting the cubs play in free range. So please, folks, if you're out, make sure that you have a small can of this to a large can. Now, these large cans are a little bit expensive, but they have saved my hide more than once. Okay? I advise everybody to carry a small can of this with them at all times.
For you hikers out there, too. I have behind my house, and everybody knows, I have, the game preserve back there. I have trail cameras all over that place. So for you poachers out there, yes, I will have you on trail camera. I will turn you in, okay? But I digress. I have gotten people on that trail cameras down at the creeks, literally, in the summertime, with flip-flops and shorts. No bear spray, no nothing. Mm-hmm. That is dangerous, okay? First off, because of bear. And, the bears really aren't dangerous. Unless you get between a mom and a cub, they want nothing to do with you, okay? But let me tell you what does want something to do with you if you step on it. We have copperheads and rattlesnakes. You get way down like where I hike and where some other hikers are, where some of these trail cameras are taking pictures, and you're running around in flip-flops and shorts. No hiking boots, no nothing. That's just felony stupid. And yes, I've got people on camera doing this, and it's just like, oh my God, can you believe this? Look at this person. And kids, have kids, running them down this creek.
Absolutely.
With not proper gear. That's just crazy. For hikers out there, to protect yourselves, to protect the wildlife, and I'm a big, I'm a major tree hugger, as he'll tell you. I'm a major tree hugger for the bears, the elk, everything.
True advocate.
True advocate. You also need to be prepared. You need to prepare. You should never be going in these woods, not winter, summer, anything, without proper hiking gear, and that means hiking boots, because some of the, like my trail, your ankles can go over real easy, and then the trail's here, and then there's a drop off. Then all of a sudden you're in a ravine where nobody can hear you, nobody knows you're there. Unless it's on my trail, my dogs will find you. But I don't go every day. I'm just absolutely amazed and astonished at the stupidity of people out in these woods. The lack of gear, the lack of, just total stupidity. Not being properly dressed in these woods. You really, really need to think about that. You need it. Don't go in the, and you're like, well, there's a trail. Oh, okay. And so what? Do you think snakes come up to the trail and say, oh, there's a trail there, so I'll just stay back here? There's a boundary.
Yeah.
Do you think that these coy wolves, and we'll get into that in a minute, think, oh, there's a trail. There's a human on a trail. Oh, they're on the trail, so we have to leave them alone. No. We have things in these woods, in our forest, and I love our forest. I want people in the forest. I want people out there. But you got to have some common sense. When you're out there, you have got to have the proper gear. You better have bear spray, not just for bears. We have these, and we'll get into these in a minute. I want to go into more bears here in a minute. But we also have these things called wolves. We do have wolves in the county. We do have coy wolves, which is a hybrid, and we do have, these coyotes, packs of them. And, you're out there by yourself. A bear looks at a human and doesn't see a meal. They don't. They got too much food in the forest, okay? They just don't. If a bear attacks a human, and we have yet, knock on wood, we've not had a bear attack in McCreary County at all. And there's hundreds of these bears. They're on my trail every day. They're up in the yard. They want nothing to do with you. If you get attacked by a bear, you've done something wrong. If I am my trail, something happens to me and I get attacked by a bear, it was on me. I've done something stupid, okay? And I'm going to say that right now. Please don't go kill the bear. However, these coy wolves, these coyotes, and these wolves, you're on the menu, okay? And I've got pictures of people out there hiking by themselves without proper gear. And I mean proper gear, at least pepper spray.
At least pepper spray.
At least pepper spray.
A lot of people ask me, Mr. Smith, what do I do about bears? How do I handle animals of this nature? This is where I'm going to get in touch on this real quick. This is called a shell cracker fire device, okay? Fits your standard 12-gauge shotgun. Now, it fires this particular set. Now, you can buy them at different distances and different tolerances and different decibels. But this particular set has a range that fires anywhere from 100 to 150 yards. And it detonates with a large bang, a large basketball-sized flash and bang. This will deter animals and run them off in any place around you. Like if you have dogs attacking your cattle in the field, or bears walking too close to your property in the field, your hay, your feeds, whatever, you can run them off with this. This is a rubber buckshot round, and it's, let me see here, it's by Lightfield LLR. It's a company that devises this stuff. It's a 12-gauge shotgun round, 2 3/4 inch. It is a non-lethal. Now, everything can be lethal if misused. Okay, let's go and get that out there. Everything can be, this can be used too close to an animal and do great damage. But if you follow the procedures, learn a little bit about it, come talk with me. I'll give you full sets of instructions on everything to use. If you use that, you can scare a bear off without doing any permanent damage to him. You're going to bruise his butt or bruise his side or bruise his nose, but he'll be fine. Okay? Same with dogs. We have coy dogs, which are a coyote wolf or coyote dog breed. Domestic dogs have gotten loose and are breeding with them. Folks, she's touched on the part about the coy wolves and stuff. The coyotes are a very intelligent, very methodical hunter. For you ladies who like to set your little dogs outside, let them go to the bathroom, and you have a daily routine, you're running routines, I assure you that in some parts of my county right now, there are coyotes sitting in the field in behind the sagebrush watching you. And every day they watch and see what your pattern is. When you set your dog out and it vanishes, you're like, oh, it run off. I'm going to break your heart and say probably didn't run off. You probably let a wily coyote get a hold of it because you turned your back too long.
And it's not the bears. For a long time, and we did the same show, very similar last year. A lot of people are saying a lot of their farm animals are disappearing too.
Yep.
And the bears are getting a bad rap. Bears, they, for the most part, you got to think of a bear as a giant raccoon. They'll get in your trash. They'll do stuff like that. And I know that's aggravating, but they're not, actively going and killing your cats and rabbits and everything else.
No.
Pretty much, believe me, what's doing that is these coy wolves, coy dogs, and wolves. And also, I have now on my trail cameras, and I've posted this, we have mountain lions here. And for the game wardens who say, no, we don't, yeah, we do, because here's your picture. We've got them, okay? And we also have very large bobcats. I got a bobcat down behind my house that's got to be 100 pounds. I've got a picture of him, and I've got a picture of one of my large dogs in the same kind of position, and they're the same size. You know, the woods are great. Get out there in them. I encourage that. It's good for your mental health, but do so smartly. You know, safely. You know, proper gear, pepper spray. You know, and here's another thing too. For young ladies out there, there are two-legged snakes in the woods. You know, we have people going missing in Kentucky. One of the best things you can do to defend yourself, either in the woods or Walmart parking lot, is right there.
Yes.
Right there.
This was worked tremendously well on the human being.
Yeah.
And it does. It's non-lethal to them. It gets you out of a hostile situation, a dangerous situation. It's perfectly legal for you to use. Okay. Now I've heard some people say, "Well, just use wasp spray. They got to go to the hospital with that." Well, wasp spray is illegal to use on a human being, unless it's an absolute emergency and it's the only thing that you had available. It is absolutely illegal to do because it requires an antidote, and certain things can happen to a human before they get to the antidote. This requires no antidote, just nothing more than time and air. It's perfectly legal to use, and it will save your butt when you need it.
Yeah, I just think, you know, for all you fathers and mothers out there that have young daughters, you know, and they're just getting their driver's license, they're just going to games, and you know, I've gone through this. I've got grandkids and beautiful granddaughters, and you know, they're going to school functions. Now they're in college now, thank God, but still, college, that's even more dangerous. Oh my God. But, you know, they're getting in cars, they're going to park, they're coming out of Walmart parking lots, they're coming out of games and parking lots. And I'm telling you, and I know they don't like to carry something like that, it's bulky, but you know what, you use the small stuff then. You can buy Tractor Supply, all these places sell it, and it's actually cheaper. You know, arm your kids and show them how to use it. Arm your kids with this pepper spray. And that way they can carry their little tiny purses they like to carry in their little cell phones and have that pepper spray and make them practice pulling it so they don't spray themselves.
Yes,
Make them practice.
Wind direction plays a large part of this.
Make them practice pulling that stuff. I'm telling you, you may save. And I know my granddaughters did the same thing. No, here, you're going to, and I made them practice. And my daughter, I mean, she's a lawyer up in Philadelphia now. You know, I made her, she'll tell you, I gave her a stun gun and pepper spray. I made her practice it. And of course, they roll their eyes. I can't believe you're making me do this. No, you're going to carry this, and I'm going to train you how to use it. And I made them practice it. You know, that'll save you not only from animals in the woods, but it'll save you from, I call them two-legged snakes, criminal humans, that there are predators out there that they will prey on your kids. So,
and folks, I also want to touch the fact, anytime. Now, lately, I've been down the last few days. Some of my community is wondering, well, why ain't you been out? Why ain't you been doing it? Been in the hospital, a little problem with my legs, and vascular issues. But I'm back up trying to keep going. Anytime, if you need training in any of this, anything that I do, if you need advice, don't come in my front yard, but if you see me out in public or you call that animal control number of 606-310-8667.
say that again.
606-310-8667. Leave me a message if you need to ask questions, you need to know something. I will be tickled to death to instruct you, guide you. These items and this all come in smaller sizes. Some come in what they call, it's a lifeboat gun. It carries these items in it. You carry 3 or 4 extra case cartridges, and you can put it in your backpack. Put it on your walking stick, hanging on a bag on a walking stick. It's available to you, and it's perfectly legal for you to use. Anybody can use these items. I'm trying to give my community a base to protect themselves, to get the stray dogs out of their yard. Again, we're going back to dogs for just a second because that's my biggest issue. I've had 2 people in this county killed and maimed by dogs, destroyed. I've had...
Now, let me hold on a minute. And both of those situations were the ultimate responsibility of extremely irresponsible pet owners.
Yes.
Who knew exactly what they had, exactly what they were doing, and they knowingly placed people at risk.
Yes, these dogs were bred for specific reasons. Folks, when we're working with these animals out here, I want everybody to be safe. That's my number one priority. And I do my best to return calls and get out there. Sometimes I miss calls. I'll call some people 2 or 3 times a day and like, did I call you? So any questions you have, please feel free to leave a message on that number on that phone. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If I'm not answering you, generally that means, especially if you're calling me to pick up animals, that generally means that the kennels is plumb full and I'm returning calls in the order they were received. We are, again, not a rescue. So, I found my property has several pups on it now. Folks, I hate to put this out here because I don't like making aspersions on people. However, the falsehood of certain statements made, well, they're not my dogs. And I go there and there's a place where they were born underneath the edge of the building. You've been feeding them there. They're your dogs. They're your responsibility. It's not my responsibility as animal control to come and take care of the problems you created.
Right, because you won't spay and neuter.
Yeah, because you didn't fix your dog and now she's knocked up and there you are. Now you got 6 or 7 or 8 pups, brand new. Nobody wants them because there's dogs free all over the county and you can't get rid of them. Now you either have to put them down or you have to take them to the shelter and turn them in. Or you make the mistake of taking them somewhere and just tossing them out. Now if you catch you doing that, folks, that is a felony. And again, I have encouraged all the members of my community just to send me the license plates of those people doing that, a photo and a license plate. That's all I need to make a prosecution. And I will.
And they have. The county attorney's office has prosecuted, it had several prosecutions. In fact, there was kind of a false accusation put on Facebook, which County Attorney Austin Price addressed that. And he there was a false accusation about a certain instance, and he corrected that and said, no, this is what happened. Prosecutions don't happen overnight. You have to file a complaint. There's procedures you have to follow. And that procedure with that specific incident happened actually pretty quick.
Yes.
So they follow procedures and everything, but they can't, the county attorney's office, they can't act on bad information. They can't act on anonymous BS, frivolous information. You can't act on rumor. As Truth or Politics, I get at least 3 private messages or phone calls or whatever, hey, did you hear about this? Okay, I'm hearing rumors. Okay, well, what are you going to do about it? Oh, okay, well, I'm going to do nothing about it. I can't investigate a rumor. I could do some nosing around. You've got to provide information. I don't want to get involved. Oh, okay, so you just want to spread a rumor is what you're doing. Law enforcement, the county attorney's office, Truth or Politics, nobody can investigate bullcrap. I didn't say the SH. No one, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, I didn't mean to interrupt you. On that shell cracker, you said that it was good for like 150.
This particular model, this particular load, I guess you'd call it, is around 150 yards, but you can get them where they detonate within 25 to 50 yards. It's a great backyard defense. This is more like I would use to run off animals away from dumpsters, like bears in dumpsters, or dogs chasing cattle out in a big long field somewhere. This gets their attention where at a distance.
Okay.
But they make them in various loads.
So it's set that like if you shot something closer with it, it would not ignite at that point.
Normally what it does is destroy the charge that's in the front. If you shoot close and hit something, it destroys the charge. It doesn't pop normally.
Okay.
There's another technique too to get that I've worked really well for bears. And I haven't tried on anything else, but we get bears in our yard all the time and stuff. And I've even trained my grandkids to go out on the porch. Get an old metal pot, like a pot that you cook boil stuff in, about this big. Old metal pot, a metal spoon. Walk out on your porch and just bam, bam, bam. There's something about that metal on metal noise that just scares the crap out of them. Now we had a bear, and I ended up calling people from Frankfurt down and everything, a whole story behind that. But I shot into the ground thinking the sound of a 9mm would scare that bear. That didn't faze them. They're not afraid oftentimes of gunshot. They don't know what it is. So that was useless. Then with that got close enough to whip out the pepper spray, and pepper spray worked. But I'm telling you, metal on metal, just keep it by your front door or something, so you don't have to, you don't have to go out, because, who wants to go out in the dark, in the middle of the night with pepper spray? You don't want to do that. So if you just open your door, first make sure there's not a bear going to come in your house. Open your door and just bam, 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 bam. That noise scares the crap out of wildlife, especially bears. Metal on metal, it just does. It works.
And another subject I want to touch just a little bit on, folks. I love my community. I have my issues with some of their behaviors and things, as I do. Everybody has their thing. Folks, I'm work from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. For military folks, that's 0830 to 1600 hours. All right? That is my actual community work hours, Monday through Friday. Now, is it true that I'm on call 24/7, 365 days a year? Yes, I am. For police, rescue units, and other things that may need my help. I am on call. My home is my privacy. It is the only place I have left to go. So don't grab a dog and run to my front porch and yard, everybody knows where I live, and think you're going to hand it to me or throw it out in my yard. This will get you the same charge as animal abandonment and so forth and so on. My time at home is mine. My missus and me enjoy our privacy. I will answer any call the very next day. If some of you are calling me at 3 in the morning, shame on you. Leave me a message. Don't expect an answer at 3 in the morning. Sorry, unless it's dispatch and it is an actual emergency. Not some dog pooping around my mailbox. That is not an emergency. Rats in your kitchen. Not my responsibility or an emergency, but I have received those calls. Folks, common courtesy. Let's think a little bit common here. Polite courtesy. I'll answer any call at any time. He never answered my call. You leave it again. I guarantee you at some point I will go through my numbers and make sure all my calls are returned. You can ask me at any place in public you see me. I don't care if it's a courthouse, if I'm headed for a public restroom. Stand outside that restroom and give me just a minute. Take care of my business and I'll come back out and answer any questions you have.
Well, give us some examples, because I think that's one of the problems you have, because they have the same problem with dog calls, bear calls, whatever, with the county attorney's office and with your office and the sheriff's office. Give some examples of what an emergency call is, that a cop or somebody will show up, as opposed to a non-emergency call.
This is very easy.
Give a couple of examples.
These are not a problem for me to give you. A dog crossed my yard and he's pooping at my mailbox. This is not in the not category of an emergency. Okay? It is an inconvenience. Probably smells bad. And if you don't pay attention, it's rough on your shoes when you go to get your mail. However, it's not an emergency. If a dog has come in and has now attacked your chickens, or has run you up on the porch and is standing out there circling in your yard, or he's now trying to get at your other animals, that is an animal emergency. Okay? That gives you the right to either call for help or take it into your own hands. I cannot be everywhere at one time, folks. I'm one person running an entire county. All right? We can't stand in your yard even if I had 50 men. I couldn't stand in everybody's yard waiting. That's a response force. That's what I am, is a response force. Let's see. I love the one about snakes. Had a lady call me just not long ago. I have snakes in my house. It's in my living room. Good luck. I am animal control, not pest control. And snakes are not on my animal list. Sorry, folks. Get Papa up, tell him to get the garden hole, and let's get him out of the house. There are people that are scared to death of these things, and I am totally sympathetic, folks. I am not being mean. I'm just being realistic here.
Bears in your trash.
Bears in my trash.
That's not an emergency.
It's inconvenience and it's dangerous, and you need to run them off. But I'll get there, or the sheriff can come and run them off. A deer strike in the highway. Okay, this is one I get constantly. I've hit a deer. They call dispatch. I've hit a deer, and it's still alive. Those will be called in to me, or the local sheriff department will get the call, and one of us will come out and dispatch the animal and put it out of its misery. That's how it works, folks. We are not, once again, not a rescue agency. We don't have that ability, those funds. We don't have the support it takes to run a rescue. I have a lot of folks in my county that are listing themselves as rescues. I assure you, at this point in time, I have not one certified, inspected by me, which is required, animal rescuer in this county.
Say that again.
Okay? I don't have anybody registered with me, which is required as the animal control officer of the county, as a rescuer, because I have to be able to come out and inspect your facility, check and make sure that you're doing everything in accordance to policy with the Veterinary Association and various county ordinances. There are none, don't care what anybody tells you, that are they're self-proclaimed rescuers, and I will thank them for their time and their effort. But until they sign in with me and I have a name and a phone number to contact, they're not a rescuer on a list. They can nurse dogs, do whatever they want to do. That's great. I am all about it. But there are no current registered animal rescuers in my county. If you want to register with me, please feel free to leave me a message, your information, your location. I'll come inspect your facilities and see what you've got going on. Tell you where to make your corrections so that you can be a rescuer. Be glad to help, folks. That's my job, is to help everybody get along. Stop using your dogs, your neighbor's dogs, against them just because you don't like your neighbor. Sorry, people, that's harassment. It's providing false information to a law enforcement officer, and it's chargeable offense.
And the flip side of that coin is, you guys, you got to get along as neighbors. If your neighbor comes to you and says, you know, your dog keeps coming over in our yard and harassing my chickens, or my kids are afraid of it because it's a big dog or whatever, and your neighbor comes to you and says, can you just keep your dog up? And you just refuse to do that. And you know, the dog owner is the responsible one, okay? It's your responsibility to do that. You know, I'm lucky I have good neighbors, and, you know, they have dogs, I have dogs, their dog. Even the most responsible dog owner, no matter what you do, especially certain breeds of dogs, they're escape artists, okay? And you can take every precaution in the world, and your dog can still get out, okay? This is why what you need to do is be good neighbors to your neighbors. If your dog, you know, my neighbor, you know, his little dog comes over sometimes and plays with my dogs, it gets out. But he's done everything he can to keep his dogs up. My dogs are not perfect. I got one that's an escape artist, and I've got Jurassic Park built, okay? But, you know, my neighbors know that, you know, my dogs are not dangerous or anything. They know, you know, hey, it's just Darlene's dog, he's over here. They'll call me, I hit the whistle, and, you know, we go get him. But as long as you're making honest efforts, and your neighbor knows you're making honest efforts, and everybody's making an honest effort, you know, most people in this county love dogs.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to know a dog hater, okay? I just don't. But if you just meet your neighbor halfway and work with your neighbor and just, I'm sorry, you know, just get with him maybe and get some advice on a proper dog kennel and stuff, you know. Here,
I don't mean to interrupt, but
yeah.
I have a system developed. Okay, I tell everybody, hey, look, if you're asking me, I come look at your residence. I'm gonna tell you what's wrong with your leads. A lot of people buy these nice little red plastic coated leads. They are guaranteed to rust into inside, snap, and let your dog go. Okay, you have to be responsible enough to go out and inspect. You can't just throw a chain on them and say, okay. You got to put a swivel in the chain so that it doesn't knot up. There are various things that I can teach you. Be glad to show you. Big M. I give me a little plug for Big M because they work very closely with us trying to help. Big M has a chain system that I have developed that they sell. Now, granted, it's about $60. However, it will hold any dog. It is guaranteed not to harm the dog. And if you keep it maintained and inspected, it will last you for years without just changing out 2 little links. That's it. Your dog will not, unless you put it to an old rotten board and don't secure it properly. I teach you all the ways to secure it so that it doesn't do this. But it will not let that dog get away. It can't happen.
And it all goes back to this too. And I said it before, he said it, we'll say it again. If you are not going to put the time in with a dog, if you're not going to put the time in to train that dog, take care of it, don't get the dog. Okay, just don't. And that's the real problem in this county is we have irresponsible dog owners. I've even had, there's people who go pay big money for a dog, and then just here it's got food, it's got water. They don't train it. They don't keep it safe, and it roams the neighborhood. And people they're not controlling their dog. So it comes down to the bottom line is the county's doing as much as they can do with this dog problem, and it is a huge problem, but the ultimate responsibility goes to the dog owner. And if you're not going to be a responsible dog owner, don't get the dogs. That means having them spayed and neutered too, and cats too. So, folks, we are just about out of time. Before we leave, I want to thank you so much for coming on. We do this about once a year. We cover, the bear situation.
Bear necessities.
The bear necessities, man. And the cats and everything else. And we try to cover it all. And I know we probably missed something. I apologize if we did. We're not perfect. But we want to thank MBR TV for having us on and keeping us on for years, 15 years coming up. We want to thank everybody behind the scenes at Truth to Politics. And we want to thank the listeners and watchers out there. We appreciate that. We're going to have another show coming up in 2 weeks. As most of you know, we're fighting to keep a landfill from coming in just south of here. And our, Bear Creek will be affected and our drinking water will be affected. This is one of the, maybe this is not the worst idea in the history of history, but it's one of the worst. And we're fighting this landfill. We're going to have the people on in a couple of weeks. I'll promo it and everything. We hope you guys will watch that. We need your help to stop this landfill. And I like what the guy said in front of physical court. I'm going to steal his thunder and steal his words. Unless we want to start drinking cancer, we need to stop this landfill. So for more information about that ahead of time, go to cumberlandclear.org. That's the organization that's working hard, and your county government here. You should appreciate them because they're working hard to stop this landfill, as are the county and city governments out of Oneida, Tennessee, and Huntsville. So go to cumberlandclear.org and you can find out more information. And we're going to have a whole nother show on it, and we'll update everybody on what's going on the landfill. Well, thank you guys. Thanks, folks behind the scene. Thank everybody for coming, and we will see you next time on Truth or Politics. Thanks.